Hey guys, welcome to the Friday Wrap. All right, this week, what are we going to talk about? Well, the budget came out. So we're going to talk about the budget. This year, everything has gone up in value. Everything costs more. And the budget, the intention is to help to ease the cost of living or the rising cost of living. So we're going to talk about a few of the points that the government has introduced to help us with just that, the rising cost of living. All right, the low and middle income tax offset. It initially came out a few years ago, the 2018-19 financial year, when the government came out and said, you're going to be able to get $1,080 back, and everyone thought we're going to get $1,080. But the way it actually works is when we do your tax return, you may, depending on your income, get a higher refund. Okay, the intention is that this tax rebate reduces the amount of tax that you have to pay. So if you're going to get a refund, you get an extra refund. Now, the $1,080 was the full amount that you could get, and it became that amount if you were over or between $48,000 and $90,000. In this budget, they've increased it by $420. So the maximum that you can now get is $1,500. And it's a bit like our marginal rate of tax. Depending on your income, depends on the margin that you're in. So with this one, depending on your taxable income, depends on the amount of offset that you may be entitled to receive. Okay, so this one came out that people who are what they call low and middle income earners may receive a tax rebate up to $1,500 come tax time. So it's not like you're going to get $1,500 in the bank or a check in the mail or anything like that. When you lodge your tax return, the rebate will be available and you're paid that much less in tax, meaning if you were going to get a refund, you'll get that much further back. All right, the fuel excise tax. I cannot tell you the amount of people I've spoke to this week that said, I didn't even know this actually existed. Now, the fuel excise tax is currently at 44.2 cents a litre. I've researched it this week. It came into play in the Bob Hawke era, from what I can gather, and it's indexed semi-annually. So twice a year, it increases with inflation, and it's now up to 44.2 cents a litre. The excise tax accounts for between 35 and 40% of the cost of fuel. Okay, you imagine back to the beginning of COVID when nobody was on the road and the fuel prices dropped significantly, this tax would have nearly been 50% of the price of fuel. Not maybe 50%, but definitely 40% of the price of fuel. To help ease the burden of the rising cost of fuel, in the budget, they're looking to halve this tax for 6 months. So instead of being 44 cents, it'll be 22 cents. So hopefully when you go get petrol, the fuel companies actually do pass it on, and you will have a price which is 22.1 cents less than what it would have been. Quick point to make there. I'm going to do a Friday wrap in the next week or two on if the average Australian earns X, and if the average Australian spends their money in all these places, fuel, loan repayments, how much they're actually paying in tax. Because you've got the fuel excise tax, which I said a lot of people didn't even know about. You've got GST, you've got individual income tax. What if you were to buy a house? What if you were to sell? All of these taxes. So I'm going to do one on all of the taxes. Okay, so that's in a couple of weeks' time. All right, what about this one? Super. So for the guys that are in pension mode, I actually like this one because I do. Back in the financial crisis when this initially came out, and it's been turned off and then it's come back on. Back in the financial crisis when everybody's assets were falling in value, especially share market related assets or share market invested assets were falling significantly, almost by a half. The government said, instead of, if you're a pensioner or if you have your superannuation fund in pension mode and you need to draw out a minimum, if you're say 65 to 74, you had to draw out 5%. They didn't want people to have to draw out 5% and actually sell assets which were dwindling or reducing in value so significantly. So they reduced it by half. Okay. Come COVID, when the market fell by 35% in a month, they quickly reacted and did the same thing. Those losses have been recouped and we're now ahead of where we were at the beginning of COVID. But what they've said is we'll keep this reduced minimum. So depending on your age, If you've got a super fund and you're in pension mode, this reduction is going to be in place until the year 2023, up until 22-23 year. So we're currently in the 21-22 year. Next year's a 22-23 year. From then on, we're going to go back to our normal rates, okay? But it's going to be halved for this year and the next. And the other one, which is probably going to affect a lot of people, is a $250 cost of living payment. So this one's generally if you're on the age pension. So for those of you who are on the age pension, you're going to get $250 paid this month, which is great. There's a lot more to it. There's a lot more to it for business owners. If you want to allocate money towards developing technology to help you in your business, you're going to get a deduction greater than the cost. You get $120 for every $100 spent. So you can claim a deduction of 120% of the technology allocation of investments in your business. Things like that. Not going to go into that today. I just want to talk about a few of the points. So we've got this tax offset, which is going to increase to $1,500 depending on your margin rate of tax, depends on how much you receive. We've got the fuel excise tax, which is going to affect all of us positively, which is great. Those of you that are in super, where you've got a pension in place, you have to draw out half the amount. And those of you on the age pension or any of these other pensions, you're going to receive a $250 payment this month. Go and spend it. Do what you want with it. All right, that's it, guys. Happy Friday. I'm going to be back next week. I shall see you then. Bye.